Hey everybody. Okay, there's another stream for Realtime Unreal. Today's going to be about rigging, M-Gear rigging, and wherever else it kind of leads us going forward. We have Dave's here. Nice. A little late on the start because I ran into some technical difficulties as usual, and also interesting that this pretzel music thing has changed rapidly. Like I use this pretzel as my background music. Hey, we got Demo here. And they've been bought up and they've been changing and switching, and they got rid of this feature that I use to like stream my music in. And I'm like, why did you get rid of this? But then I found out Windows offers you the same option. You can just drive your audio from any source through another source. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. So I was able to find a solution. Maybe that's why they got rid of the setting, because they're like, why should we give you this option? You can do it through Windows. Anyway, I got that working. So the big news today for me is I found out there's some tutorials for M-Gear. Not that crazy of big news really, but I've been it was total coincidence. I was just like, today I'm going to talk about M-Gear. I'm going to learn a little more. Hey, Michael's here. Just stop by real quick. Say, yeah, thanks. I'm glad you dropped by. I mean, it's been a while, I guess. We're not going to probably be having that exciting of a stream, to quite honest. We're going to be talking about how to learn how to do M-Gear, but you're welcome to join in and see what we're doing here. It isn't quite Houdini-esque, but I guess there's some relevance there. But anyway, so what happened was I was looking up how to do M-Gear stuff because I want to learn how to do M-Gear, because it's been driving me crazy that I can't figure out how to solve some of these very obvious issues that I should be able to figure out. And I know the documentation for M-Gear is terrible. And so I was like, okay, I better go do my research, figure out how to do something interesting for this stream. And you go to their help. Where is it here? There. M-Gear's help documentation, and I was like, okay, time to get started. And I was like, all right, let's see what I can learn. And it says here, check out our M-Gear official YouTube videos. I'm like, oh, that's handy. I didn't know there was YouTube videos. And then I'm looking at it and okay, cool. We got lots of videos here. And so I started on the first one, which is like 0. And I'm like, oh, good. And I'm like, oh, what is that? Like, what's the date that this was made in? How long ago was this? And I'm like, wait, that's like today. I'm like, wait, that's like right now. So like I don't know, it's just total coincidence. I just sort of like stumbled across it. It's like literally just 8 hours ago that they uploaded all these videos. So completely coincidental. And now I'm like just running through them, trying to get my head around what's going on. They're really good guides so far, but it's been pretty thorough so far. Not a lot in terms of like overview. It's more like this is how each little bit of component works, one step at a time. So, and I'm only up to like week video, I think 6. Maybe, or 7, I don't even know. I kind of was just going through the series one at a time. Michael, you're talking about rigging, huh? Rigging in Unreal or just rigging in general? This would be useful for rigging in general, but it's M-Gear specifically is a game compatible rigging type. So hence why I'm quite motivated to learn how to do it. It's a new tool set that is built through, well, it's funded behind Autodesk. And it's open source, so it's free, and people are contributing to it from various sources. But one thing that Maya's always lacked is just some kind of reliable tool set to work with for rigging that isn't just going back to the bare bones of doing it all yourself. And especially something that can support like a game pipeline. So this is a very big step for Maya in a positive way, and it's been around for quite a few years. It's always been under construction and very difficult to understand, and it still probably is. I mean, I'm learning quite a lot and getting a lot of understanding of it, but it's still, there's a lot of unknowns that I I need to still figure out. But it does seem pretty powerful. There's a lot of cool concepts that make all the tediousness of doing joints, getting joints correctly oriented, and making sure that you've got your whole hierarchy and doing some complicated setups. It's all like modular, so they've got lots of pieces here that you can do that's already been pre-prepared and set up. So if you're looking for a foot controller, they've got all that, you know, foot rotation, all the terminology I'm supposed to be remembering, IK stuff that like allows you to bring the heel up and everything. It's all, the logic is there. You just have to place it in the place that you want. And when you drag these things in, oh, when you double click on it, I'm like, wait, I haven't actually done this yet. I thought he was dragging them in. Sections, spacing, okay. You should be getting, I should be getting, you know, these foot controls. Yeah, here they are. To work with. They're really tiny though. But basically, you have the components that you need to be able to build that foot control. So now these are like basically guides. You just position them where you need to match your character's rig. This is your route for that particular foot, and then you would parent that to another portion of your body. So you'd have, I think, what is it, control or something? And I gotta figure out how most of this stuff works here. You can build like the main piece, and then you can add other pieces just by simply parenting them. So there's not a whole lot of understanding. You don't have to figure out all the crazy logic. You just have to piece it together with building parts, and then they'll do all the back end stuff to get it to work. So see, for example, that control is parented to my foot. So if I, technically the parent of my foot is moving that control piece wherever the heck it is. It's somewhere in the origin maybe. Oh no, it's way over here. So lots of neat things that is starting to connect dots for me in my head, which is awesome. Simon, I have this important question about CG Spectrum virtual production course, and I hope you answer it whenever you can. Is rigging and animating taught in Unreal, or they're done in Maya? If it's the second one, being in Maya, can the students use Blender for that part? Thanks a lot. That's a good question. So we do a bit of both in the intro course. So virtual production has 3 terms. It's a 3-term course, and there's an introduction term before it that has to be taken by most everybody. But if you have experience with animation and rigging already, then you can skip the intro course and Unreal. Animation, rigging, and Unreal. Then you can skip the intro course and just go into the virtual production. But most people come to the course with some sort of Unreal modeling experience, and then we go, okay, now you got to take the intro because it's covering all this fundamental character animation stuff. And so we don't get really deep in that intro course for rigging. We just talk about some of the concepts of how to deal with joints, joint placements, the reasons for it, and basically if you take a skeleton from a character, export it out of Unreal, at least you have a good idea of what is put into it to get it to be at that stage. How do you skin things? How do you place those joints so that it works well in the engine and stuff? So that's the kind of thing we cover. We cover Motion Builder and how to use Motion Builder in terms of retargeting and using these skeletons, because that's a pretty common workflow. And then we also cover how to use Control Rig inside Unreal. So we're talking about rigging, using a pre-existing skeleton so that you can manipulate the skeleton and animate it inside of Unreal using the new Control Rig feature. So those are the last few things. The other earlier stuff is talking about, just more getting your head around how to use Unreal, because it assumes that you don't know Unreal and it's getting you started. So your question was, can students use Blender for that part? The answer is probably going to be not really. And I don't mean it in sense of we're hating on Blender, but the mentors, the 3 mentors that we have, none of them, well, including me, I guess, so 4 mentors, none of them have Blender experience. So the course is built around a non-Blender software. None of us know how to use Blender. So you're going to be like, your Q&As are going to be really boring, because they're going to be like, so I got stuck on this problem with Blender, and everyone's like, let's do a Google search and let's find out. So, and like, I appreciate what Blender is offering. There's definitely an interesting direction with Blender, and it's definitely becoming very popular. Like, there's a lot of positive things about Blender, but what I usually do here is I'm gonna show you in the jobs. If you look at the jobs that are being put out there on a daily basis, we have this like tool on our Slack that will add people, post all the different jobs coming from a spreadsheet that everybody can access. This spreadsheet, it's just this giant spreadsheet of jobs, and they keep coming in. But if you look at it and you look at the software that they're all asking for, it's always Maya. Like, very rarely do you run across one that says they want Blender, and that's really where we're coming from in most of our courses. Like, we're always, every studio has this pipeline built around Maya. Everybody's kind of working towards that expectation. So if we teach our students how to do Blender and they go into it and say, I don't know Maya, I just know Blender, they're going to be like a major setback from their competition. So that's really our argument behind whether we should teach Maya or Blender. And like, as we transition and possibly we start getting into a point where there's a bit of a mix of, like, you know, some of these jobs do want Blender and some of them want Maya, then we'll start bringing in the concept of like introducing that course content. But our mentors we have to bring on to help us are obviously, they have to know how to use Blender as well in order for us to really give any assistance to the students. But you can see here we got Maya and we got Motion Builder. So those are the two main ones. There's 3D Max as well, which is, you know, not that much different than Maya, not that much different than Blender. It's sort of the same kind of concept. But generally speaking, a lot of them are, it's pretty consistently, you'll see Maya in most of these. So that's where we're at. I get that question a lot, like, why don't you guys teach Blender? And I'm like, well, we got nothing against Blender. we're rooting for Blender. It's just that you got to teach what the industry wants. Because we all know that Maya is very frustrating, and it's they definitely, their problem is they're so complacent that they just don't care if like their software is half broken. They're just like, we know you're going to use our software, so we don't care. But it's nice to see that there's a competition that's coming up that's like not owned by Autodesk, that can actually, you know, make them run for their money a bit. But what I always bring up is, like, from what I've heard, Autodesk doesn't even really care about Maya that much because their profit margin on Maya is like irrelevant compared to the profit margin they get from all their other AutoCAD stuff. So they're not really too worried if they lose the battle, which is disappointing. Like, even Motion Builder, like, they've been talking about getting rid of Motion Builder for years. Meanwhile, it's like the industry is using Motion Builder because it's like that's the tool they need in order to get the motion capture onto their character. But meanwhile, Maya's like, or Autodesk is like, I don't really care. I mean, that software, it's just a pain in the butt to maintain. In fact, it hasn't even really changed for like the last decade. They just keep releasing the same version over and over again. Anyways, so there you go. Okay, so in terms of what am I going to do for this Q&A, or for this session stream, I actually don't have a very solid plan. A lot of it, I think, is just me going to be learning. And so if you guys do have questions and want to chat about things, feel free to bring it up, because I don't want to be super boring, but I don't have a very good plan today. Michael says, really, who's their money maker? Maya is super expensive, I remember correctly. Yeah, Maya is super expensive. It's just, there's a whole industry that they, like, if you ever look at what softwares Autodesk owns, they have a huge portion of their software is for like the industrial, architectural, like you've got tools for, you know, creating 3D, like it's called Inventor, I think, and there's a bunch of other ones that manufacturing, that's the word I'm looking for pipelines and stuff. So you can build all these things that are accurate, and they don't use polygons, they use like a procedural angles so that you don't have to worry about, you're always going to get perfect arcs and stuff. And even AutoCAD, like you're building architectural design, that's it's not the same principle as what we work with in terms of polygons and different sort of logic. But yeah, those are the people that are paying big bucks as well for their software. But meanwhile, there's like a much bigger, I don't know, financial, I guess the businesses pay more money for it, or there's a lot more businesses that pay money for it. With Maya, I guess you get some studios that have a few artists, but I guess that's just not the financial money making. I guess the industry just isn't as big as the other industry. And also, I think Unreal is also competing in this space now, especially with what you can see with Auto Control Rig. I feel like they're really finding a solution that will alleviate a lot of the stuff that I'm working on right now, in fact. But it's kind of risky because there's I don't know, there's a whole bunch of complicated things that have to happen. But it's nice to have a rig that you can animate inside of the editor. There's definitely some advantages. The problem is you don't have this nice animation tool set, so that's why it's risky, because it might work out well, but it might also be really frustrating, and then nobody will use it, and then it'll become obsolete, and they'll eventually phase it out. But I'm hoping that it'll work to a point where there's enough advantage and it's free because it's already in the editor that you can like, and I'm also expecting it to be like very much automated, so there's not all this manual labor to make a rig in Unreal. That you know, it'll be quite feasible to do all your animation inside of Unreal and not have to build all these rigs. You still have to build a skeleton that's skinned to a mesh in another package. It's just the control rig that would be currently taken over. But I mean, and then Unreal's also making these other things like sculpting software tools and all these other stuff for modeling. So I don't know. I don't think they really have a plan to try to take over everybody, but I think they want to make it so that if you don't have a budget, then you can still make things inside of Unreal and be self-sufficient. So it seems to be where they're going anyway. Right. So some of the interesting things that I found with oh, another question. Excellent. Michael says, have you used Unreal to animate, or you still use Maya to animate and then bring in Unreal? Everybody still animates in Maya. Nobody animates in Unreal, realistically. I have done some animations as of recently for, in fact, I think last stream I was animating in Unreal, just to, you know, show the pipeline and workflow. Oh, I should actually show where my final results went, because I did actually finish the animation from last week, and I think it turned out okay. Let me just open it up. But it's a painful, still a bit of a painful process to animate on Unreal. Not gonna lie. And we got a different Michael. How much Python coding do you need to know to work with Maya professionally? Wow. You don't need to know any Python coding if you're an artist. It's really just the technical people that are making scripts, custom scripts and stuff. You definitely have an advantage of knowing how to do some scripting if you can. And like, I always try to push that on all the artists and students that we have, because it's surprisingly easier than you think, especially in Maya, because of the fact that it's like recording all of your transactions, or all your well, like transactions or whatever, all your operations in Maya. I mean, I can show you right now. If you open up your script editor and you know, if I pick something, it's gonna say select right foot controller. That's a mel command that you can use to do the same operation. So it's basically telling you what your scripts could be if you wanted to make your own. And so I mean, it's very similar to like macros or something. Now this is all mel language, not Python, but Python has parallel commands that look quite similar, just using Python syntax to be able to do the same thing. So it's to do simple operations that repeat. It's surprisingly easy to set up. And if you know Python already and you know kind of understand the point of why you're importing modules and how to do for loops and stuff, you can make really sophisticated plugins that do some really fancy stuff. And it totally works. And that's a big part of why a lot of studios stick with Maya, because they have already invested a lot of time and money into building these custom tool sets for their pipelines, and so that you can just integrate them. But from an artist perspective, they're the ones using the tools that are already created. So the workflow that I would be using as an out-of-the-box Maya is probably going to look a lot different than a workflow that you're going to see in a big studio, because they will be like using their own custom tool set that's going to have their own custom buttons, that's going to like prep their characters and save a lot of time doing a lot of things that you know, for me right now, I'm like trying to set up a rig, but like they may have their own custom auto rigger, and it would have all like the predictable features that they need for their game to be able to have that you know, compatible with what they need. So anyway, it's a different kind of world, but what MGear is offering is starting to bridge that. I think this is like a nice free tool set that could be a nice compatible thing that you can work with. Even if you look at like the templates they got here, they've got metahuman, mannequin, quadruped. Like these are all really interesting directions that might help really solve one of the big gaps Maya has right now. Oh, I was going to show the animation. So yeah, we've got last week we were trying to animate this flying thing. Hey, Michael says thank you. And I was trying to do this flight ambient one, which when I left, I was like, oh, this is not going very well. And that's because the IKs for the feet were not following the body animation, and it was really it wasn't going very well. So I had to change the rig, and it was actually a really neat experiment because it really forced me to see how robust working with control rig is. So because you can make a change in control rig and it doesn't break your animations, and it allows you to see instantly if it's working, if it's compatible with your animation. If it's not, then you just make some more changes until it is working, and it's like nothing broke, which is really cool. So what I had to do, I have to remember what I did here. Basically, I made it so that there's another additional controller over here that is just an on-off switch, and it allows you to, like if you move the body and the switch is off, then it doesn't move the blue circle. But then if I move the switch to on, then the blue circle follows the body. That's basically all I did. And it kind of required, like, here's our, is this what it was? Oh man, now I gotta remember what it was. Follow body, spinning blade. I think it was higher. Here? Match arms to body. Yeah, follow body. Okay, so here it is. Basically at the average, so that we can produce the weight of whether this set relative transform of the arm space, which I think is this blue one. No, it isn't. Child arms, see body space. Oh, arm space is a space node. So yes, we have a space node. So it's like a group inside of Maya. So it's an empty placeholder value that takes the offset. And then the C arms is the one that you're actually, controller arms, is the one you're going to animate with. So it needs to be not constrained. And that way the numbers are still neutralized. And so it's basically taking it's kind of like doing a constraint in Maya. That's all it is. You're taking the controller of the body, which is this one. No, it's not. this one, C-body base, and making that the parent, and then the child is the space node of the controller. So then you got you got the ability to have the, once I turn it on, have the ability to have the blue controller follow the main body, and then I just animate a little bit of offset. So I'm animating it inside of, let me go to the light. So I'm animating inside of sequencer, and I've got some, let me just open up this other map so that my floor is a little different here. Open up the sequencer again, and this the one, yeah, this is it. And then if we pick the control rig, man, can we just hide this? Let's just hide it. You can see that the blue controller just follows along with the pink controller, and then I just, after it was following, I just animated a little bit offset so that there was that slight feeling that the legs were moving a bit, but it was all just sort of hand keyed. And then I played around with the position of the blades a little bit so that it was like he's trying to recover. And anyway, after a bit of polish, it worked out pretty good. I felt like the keys and the curves kind of felt natural. I don't know what this looks like yet as a cycle, but it works in conjunction with the flying one, flying idle. The flying idle is just kind of like a back and forth a little bit, kind of swinging. And it's a short little cycle, so it doesn't have a lot to work with. Not super excited about this one, but I'm hoping if the character is kind of like sitting there moving, it might just work. You gotta really see what it looks like in game before you can be too picky about your looks. And then the other ones we have is like we have our launch animation, which we can get before it goes into the flight, and then it'll just blend to a blend space into the, or blend into the flying, which should work pretty good. So you go from like a sleeping idle to a wake to a walk. And I think the walk is, I was just actually talking to Dave earlier today. I was getting tweaking out the speed of the walk in his game, and the speed here is very slow. If you change the rate to 2 times, which is what he had it at, it kind of makes it look like the character's moving faster, which is great because then you can allow the character to move a bit quicker if you need to. But if you go 3 times, it's like, okay, well, that's just looking a little crazy. It doesn't quite work. So I think I'd have to create another animation for a run where the character's doing maybe like a 4-legged run, like an animal, to allow it to be able to cover more ground. And then you'd have to come up with a blend space that would blend the two of them together. So there is a potential here that this should have another cycle for a run, but I'm not going to do it until somebody actually needs it, because I feel like if this character needs to travel quickly, they should just start flying. You know, they should be limited by their speed for walking, and then if they want to move fast, they fly. And that just makes more sense. So Dave says, use the flying for a run. There you go. Perfect. See, we're on the same page here. So just like go into a launch. And I mean, in theory, you could just go from a walk straight to a launch. That might actually work, or straight to a flight. That might actually work. And just miss this whole turning on thing. Or no, do a blend, a joint blend. So you just blend the upper part, so the top part plays its animation while it's still doing the lower part walk cycle. Totally would work. Anyway, lots of fun ideas. This is for the, we're gonna do this for the game dev webinar, which is coming up in February. And we're gonna talk about the production pipeline of how you would make an asset and animate it. So we've got different mentors talking about different parts. But Furious is doing the programming. He's the one that's gonna be doing the AI process so that he can demonstrate how a programmer would take part in the pipeline. So I haven't actually seen what he's got in his part, so I'm just kind of waiting. I'm going to talk about my side of it, then we'll see what his side ends up looking like as well. And the whole blade spinning thing, I'm not sure about either. I'm hoping that if they blend, the blades aren't going to get all too weird on me. But That's all part of production. I even put the proxy one, so we got our old proxy character in here as well. For when we were R&Ding this character, doing other animations. He's just a more basic form of what we were doing. So it kind of shows the process. Anyway, so that's kind of fun. I better not save anything in case I did something crazy. If you guys have any questions or anything, feel free to bring them up. I'm going to try and, otherwise I'm just going to sit here and start figuring out what the heck's going on with this M-Gear thing. I would like to get this character set up so that I can animate with it, and in theory, if I just push ahead, I could probably get that stage working today. There is some huge questions I still have in terms of how the heck do I get these elements to mirror over again. I've completely forgotten how to do it. But I also want to make a custom joint system for getting this lava portion. There's like lava. I don't want this lava to kind of like drip. But I need a couple joints down here to do it. And I feel pretty confident that I can do that now with these components. I don't know which one to use, so it's going to be a bit of an experimental process here. But I think that is the process you're expected to use, and that way it'll be incorporated into the whole rig. And I don't have to worry, like it'll be part of the skeleton, part of the control rig, it'll get recognized as all the rest of the controls, so that's the idea. And then there's one on this side too, so it'd be mirrored over. I guess we could just start trying to play with that right away. I haven't got to the tutorial part where it talks about how to like get to the controls yet, and so that was the part I was hoping I'd get to, but all he was talking about so far was the fact that each one of these have their own settings. How do I do that there? Maybe it's only when they're selected in the world. Oh, that's probably what it is. Select it, settings, there we go. So each different types of components have different types of settings, and some of them have component settings and some of them don't. But in here he was trying to talk about each of the different things, and there's a lot to it. It was getting quite detailed, like how exactly the channel's host settings you can swap to a different controller, and this is for selection sets, so everything that you have is creating selection sets, which is useful if you want to be able to control your selection, so you can customize how you're going to organize that for usability. Lots of interesting features, but it was getting, it was like things I wasn't at all worried about at this point. So I was like, come on, just get to the overview. But anyway, his videos are pretty good, and it's just nice that he has videos at all, because before that it was just like a forum that nobody used, and it was really out of date. I'm gonna create, instead of using this one, so let's see here, we got a guide, get rid of guide. I'm gonna select, oh, here we go. This is our mesh joint organization. I mean, I feel like I don't want that. I can get rid of guide. We can go back to our bare bones here. Or sorry, rig, I meant to say. We have our guide. Michael, I gotta take off. Pleasure seeing you. Alright, Michael. Thanks for hanging out. And keep in touch. Alright, and so what do we got in here? We got guides. I don't even see the guides. Maybe oh, they're there. Those are the skeletons, though, I think. And we have this joints, which are great, but I'm not sure why I have them yet. Can I delete joint organizers locked read only with children? Why is that? Have I brought in... What is my reference right now? Model. Alright, I gotta go find out. Maybe I've got something confused here. Like I says, yeah, I'll try to bug you a little more. It's all good. It's nice to see your progress. Every time you kind of post something, you're like, here, you're still plugging away, making progress, making some cool stuff. So it's great. And we're not kicking you out of the Slack or anything, so it's like you got time to stay in touch and keep learning what everyone else is learning. Let's open up the model. Let's see what we got in here. We got model. Yeah, see, there's a joint system inside of the model. So why is this? I must have. I don't think I should have saved that one. And we got a namespace on this part. That's not good either. Alright, let's get rid of this namespace. Oh shoot, how do I do that again? Oh, I always forget this part. General. There it is, namespace editor. Merge with root. There we go. Back to just normal mesh. Alright, so I saved that, and that's being referenced into my other file, so I should be able to just update that now. Reload! There we go. Now we got our reference model in there. And I'm not sure what happened to all my guides, so I may have screwed something up on that front as well. They are hidden. I don't know why they're hidden. I'm able to still build from that? Build from selection? Error. Yeah, I screwed something up. Oh boy, maybe I'll have to do the whole rig again. I've been also struggling to figure out how to get my SVN server working. All kinds of weird stuff going on there as well. So I don't know if I have a handy backup to work from. Yeah, model and mesh. There's two of them. That's really weird. I think model is the like original, or sorry, mesh is the original file. Not sure what I was trying to do with model though. Yeah, so this is the original mesh. Two locators, distances, got the sizing right. That was the idea. This one, it's all been frozen, cleaned up. I haven't even got to the learning part. I'm just organizing my stuff right now. Well, it's probably good that I get to redo the whole rig, to be honest. Okay, so what I've done is I'm going to get rid of the original one. We're going to do the new one. I'll go through the process again. See if I can get those extra joints working before I spend too much time getting involved here. So guide 1, let's go to settings. When you have the main guide selected, you can open up settings for that guide. And I think we're going to call this route. I was just on the videos that were talking about this part, but I don't see anything that's stopping me from changing the scale. Sometimes they have the scale as like a global variable that you're supposed to work with. Oh, what's this down here though? Spine UI. Okay, well, anyway, let's try and, well, let's freeze this mesh first of all. Oh, it was already selected. So there was an interesting feature that might be able to use in this case, where if you build this guide, so I just build it right now. What? There's the route. Well, I was going to show you how a skeleton had multiple joints, but I'm a little bit concerned I'm not even getting this to build. So it could be a lot for, oh, here it goes. Now it works. Why didn't it work the first time? Anyways, so there's, if it's going to create multiple joints on that spine is what I'm looking for, because you just have to figure out what the joint number is that you want to connect your control to. Let's see if I can get this done. This is kind of an interesting example. So this is joint number, spine number 2. So if I get rid of that control rig now, I just have to remember number 2. Get rid of this one, whatever that was for. The guide 1 is where our guides are. We always have to keep that one around. We're gonna make a new component, and so we're gonna do guide manager. That's where we get this cool thing. What do I want? Just a chain, I think. So simple IKFK chain. Oh no, that's not what I want. Cable. Create a simple cable rig with 2 points attached. Sounds good. What else we got? Spring, FK chain with spring. Oh, that sounds even better. FK chain with spring that can be a master of light chain stack. What? Stackable chain with special connector to drive many chains from one master chain. I initially designed for anime style hair, but can be used for any purpose. Okay, I don't need that. That's just getting ridiculous. Whip style component with sliding? Alright, I'm just gonna do the chain spring. Draw a component. How many sections do I want in this chain? 3. Okay, 3 sounds good. X spacing 1 unit per joint. Yes. Oh wow, yeah, it really made it quite large. Alright, so I just created it, and it's already parented to the guide. So I position it basically where I want it to be. Sort of the idea. Then I'm going to parent it to what I want it to follow. Which I don't really have anything in the middle, so I guess I'm going to... Oh yeah, so that's what I was going to do. So I'm going to parent it to this one, which I think I just hit P, and it will put it in there. So we have... See if I can find it again. What the heck is it called? Chain spring. Alright, so there's our chain spring. So I can go to settings for chain spring, selected. Now I get to use one of these crazy options. So joint settings, parent joint index on 2. That was that joint number that we found earlier. Let's see if this actually works. And that way, it will travel based on where that second joint is. Orientation offset. Okay, I don't need to orient it anywhere. So hopefully that just works. I still think I should keep it. Well, whatever. So anyway, we'll put it up here and we'll tilt it down. We've got 3 joints that we can position, so I'm going to move this one. And you spend a lot of time also talking about like how a lot of the orientation elements of which way the joints are facing is being handled based on these little guides, so it makes it a lot easier to work with. You just have to do what intuitively feels right, and they'll take care of all the back end stuff, hopefully. And then that can be mirrored over as well if it needs to be. I can't, it was like, I think it's this control here. If you can change the roll offset on it. And that way, if this was supposed to flex in a different way, you can control it. Let's see if that will work very well. And then, yeah, let's just start there. Since I've already submitted this to SVN, I'm going to be okay to save over top of the file. And we'll pick the main guide, and then we'll build from selection. We'll try some basic manipulation. Well, it built it. Oh yeah, no, that's the guides moving. Hold on, I got the wrong piece controlled here. Let's pick this one. Oh yeah, so there you go, it's parented. So that kind of worked. And if you need to manipulate it, you got these little controllers to work with. Well, it's definitely going a lot better than the last time I tried, where I just could not get, like, it was terrible advice I was getting from the forum. The forum, all these people were like, "Oh, just copy and paste it from another rig. It'll just work." And I'm like, that sounds really bad. And I was trying it, and I'm like, this is not working. This definitely feels like I'm actually making pieces that fit as part of the main skeleton, which is cool. And then what am I doing now? I'm going to try and mirror that over. So I'm going to get rid of what I just built. And I should be able to just say duplicate symmetry. And I don't think I have the right... Oh, can't symmetrize central component. He talked about this. I don't remember what the solution was. I guess the idea is you can symmetry this, but that doesn't help me at all. Oh, maybe not. Hopefully I didn't just create a double. I don't think so. Well, let's select, shift select the two so that it knows that this is the point of mirroring. Okay, let's do it the other end. We'll select this one and then shift select that one. Turn it. Alright, let's see if I can scrounge up where this was and help documentation. Just because that's a frustrating problem. Where was I? It's like way back here.
As I said before, the components have these settings that are split in two tabs, the main settings and the component settings. So
nope.
The main settings are the ones that are...
What was that? 4? Shifter, intro. Okay, so shifter, guide, manager, and draw basics, guide basics, component main. It's got to be guide basics.
Let's see more details about the guides. So we know how to draw the guides, and we see that each guide that we draw, it has some icons, some elements, and let's explore a little bit which elements we have here. And in order to see all the elements, I'm just going to create this. I'm going to create a control 01. It's another type of component. It's a simple component position. And then I'm just going to create one of the chains. So it's a simple chain. So this has this little pop-up here that it presets the creation of the chain. So in this case, I want 3 sections. Direction is the work axis, so it's going to be mixed, and how will be separated each of these parts in one unit. So I'm just going to click OK. So we have this. And let's say 3, so it's 3 spans, not 3. This is the root, and the root contains information for the configuration of the component. So we have all these settings that have the counterpart on custom. Then we have this component. In this case, this is an arm to place your hand. And it has a special important how I rotate my glue. I have probably an vector control here, so it's easy because we have this. You only care about your positions. Define this plane because we don't have. Again, I'm just gonna use the button this time, so you can see the orientation now is changed. So we had the first one was there, going too far on the 6. Suppose this and just delete all the rigs I just built. Okay, so I have this one. So this one I don't have the blade. I don't have any other locator to set the orientation. But if I check the settings, I have here one that uses, say, wall space oriented. We have this wall space oriented. This is by default. So it doesn't matter how I place orientation. I say it's the important thing is the position. So if I build this, it doesn't matter how I rotate it. It's going to be aligned with the wall space. Okay, that's cool, but what if I want a different orientation? Well, I just need to uncheck this. But as soon as I uncheck the latest, before that was not visible, but now we have what we call the reference axis. So it's this little axis here, this the curve of the this root. It will give you some insight how it's going to be oriented. So now I can see my orientation. And when I build this selection, the orientation is going to match with my root orientation. So that's very important. We use this quite a lot. Okay, so that's it. So this is the way that.
Well, that was interesting. I don't know if that was what I was doing. What? I don't even see the option. What did I get wrong there? Control 1. main control. Oh, I think he was talking about how there's two different types. There's one that has the, depending on the type of component, I guess he's using chain 01 though. Oh, I'm not using chain 01. Chain 01 is for the IKFK chain. Which, I want the spring one. Okay, so I guess I just don't have that choice. Alright, not important. Let's keep going here. That did not get into the mirroring, unfortunately, which is what I was hoping it would do. Component main settings, component settings. Man, I feel like I was on the right video in the first place.
As I said before, the components have this, because what it does is doing some internal connections that come in for you. They're free. Like, let me do behind that move this. Use it on this tutorial. So R0
there, he's just talking about how I did that joint, parent joint thing, which I'm like, nobody will ever use that feature.
So now I can.
And the first thing I wanted to do was add that feature. Oh, here we go. Mirroring.
UI host with D2R. Now I can. Let's say I can make this even child of this one here. Now when I duplicate symmetry,
it just works.
It's gonna also change my UI. So now this is left and this one is also right. So this will generate two separated what? And then set the right one. I had this menu open from previous component that I deleted, so it didn't update the one I wanted. Sorry for that. Okay, more time. That's good. So you can see sometimes mistakes can also help you to understand how it works. So now, yeah, I have my channels like this. Not anymore on the root or the global or world control. That is the default one. Is there. So this helps us to organize better how we configure our channels. Okay, so now I can let's say I can make this even child of this one. So here. So now when I duplicate symmetry, it's gonna also change my.
That does not clear up anything for me.
So one is left and this one is also left. So this will generate two separated UI hosts with D2R. So we have this one are there. So we have AKK.
I don't think he was actually trying to teach you how to do duplicate symmetry in that point. He was just talking about how to transfer settings from one thing to the next.
The rolling on the upper basically here. So as soon as I'm just gonna start with again first one the arm. And let's see what we have here. So the first thing that we have is the name. So as I said before, we don't want to manipulate directly these objects here. We don't want to duplicate using the default my application. We want to manipulate all the information from here. So for instance, I don't know. I'm just gonna put limb here. So as soon as I change my focus or press enter, it's gonna update here all. You see now it's updating the object. We have center, we have left, we have right. We have the index, so we can set the index by using my mouse wheel, or we can use it.
Oh, that's interesting. Ah, it says center. So let's move this to, what is it? Left side? Alright. Give it a go. Beautiful. Alright, that makes sense now. This is called chain spring, but we could call it lava drip spring. But the other side is not. So I'm going to delete it, duplicate it again, and we got lava drip right and left. Perfect. That was nice and easy. He was even making a point in the videos. It's like, don't use Maya duplicate because it doesn't give you what you want. But this one duplicates it so that it carefully labels each piece internally, and that way you not only does it function, but it's also going to be correctly labeled. Alright, that was cool. And then if I do move these pieces, it's going to offset all that stuff terribly, so that's not good, but I don't know. Technically that's I'm in a good spot there. I remember I had a lot of trouble getting these legs to work properly, so it's kind of unfortunate in hindsight that I spent all this time carefully positioning all these feet. Now I've lost it. But I can get it back. I'd have to export Maybe export the template and reposition those springs back in again or something. Might do that just for the sake of saving myself a lot of boring time of reproducing things. Oh, that's of course assuming that I can still access SVN. That's a big question. Oh, there we go. Still have access. Yay! I'm having problems where SVN server is kicking me off because I'm getting graylisted, but I don't know what that's all about yet. Still trying to figure it out. How do I get to update item to revision? What are the other revisions? I mean, maybe there's only one, but how do I find out? Vision graph? Oh my gosh. .1029. There's only one revision. So my plan is to bring that revision back. And then copy this. And then open it so that I can save this version. And we'll see what I got here. Ah, it's the same version. SVN did not do what I thought it was doing. I wish I knew SVN better. I know how to do this in Perforce really easily, but I don't do this very often here. Update 2 revision. Let's just go 0. Can we do that? No, we can't. It's so complicated. Why can't I just like see what the revision is supposed to be? Also, interestingly, if you hold shift and right click, you get a more verbose list. I don't know if this is going to help me though. What does that mean? Unversion. Added the file patterns to global ignore list. No, I don't want to do that. Oh no. What have I done? Oh man, I'm making this worse and worse. It's totally ignored now. Oh my gosh. See, I have to add it now, but I don't know what's going on. I may have really screwed myself over here. It's still there. How do I just like get a different version? Update item to revision. But I would like to know what the other revisions are. It would be really handy. Update depth. That's, you gotta go to the revision graph. I don't know, it's ridiculous. Try a show log to see different versions of the file, and then you can try an update to revision. Show log. Okay, I didn't actually get to that part. Definitely says 1029. Oh, here's a show log. 1029. That was the revision that I used to submit it. That is the version I would like to open. Is that really going to work? Oh my gosh, it actually works. I'm going to open up something. Oh my gosh, it totally worked. Okay, so it's like blindly stumbling around. Oh look, things are working out. Oh, that's convenient. Let's see what happened here, because I don't really quite understand where my guides are. It's possible that my guides are like lost forever, but I don't know why. They were working before, and like they kind of look like they're here. This is why it's nice to be able to submit things to SVN while you're working on them instead of after you've gotten access to the server again. I got the skeleton and I got the oh, what are these? These are the controls, right? Yeah, technically rigs shouldn't have to be needed, and then all I've got left is this weird thing that doesn't do anything. Alright, well, at least I tried. It doesn't look like it's possible. Unless I've got a guide in there, I don't know. I've never really checked to see if that's possible. Oh, I do have a guide. Oh my gosh. Maybe I can use it. Oh, this is gonna be so interesting. Let's go find out. I do remember saving a guide.
Don't cry.
Let's try it, see what happens.
Talk to me.
Import guide template. Source. Oops, that's not it. Back up. Source, guide template, open. It looks like it did something useful. It even kept my other ones. Well, I probably brought in two guides actually. Yeah, so I have like the other guide, which looks pretty good. And then I have the old guide. But I should be able to just take like this and parent it to the other guide. What was I going to parent it to? Global, that one. Body control root. So that's parent, that's the child, hit P. Cannot parent object of one of its children, shoulder. Okay, let's just do this manually then. Oh, did I pick the shoulder? That was dumb. I don't know what's happening right now. just want you to go here. It's great if you could just do that. Yay. Okay, And then now I just want you to duplicate symmetry. We got right and left. Now I should be able to get rid of this. Let's just save this for first. Delete. All right, let's submit that last one I just did there. Oh, so now I've done this whole crazy ignore this file forever, which is so helpful. All right, so that's gone in there, hopefully. And we've got commit that. Adding revision with recovered guides. Already exists. Boy, I sure have made this look really, really, really complicated. Could just save it as a different file, I guess. But it would be nice to know how to like take it out of that ignore list. That'd be really handy. I don't even know what the ignore list looks like and whether that's a local setting or like a server setting. That just opened up a document file. Blocks. Anything else I can say in there? Well, that's interesting. You can view it from a previous version. Try not to spend too much time troubleshooting this, but definitely frustrating that I permanently messed it up because I clicked on a button that seemed intuitively like it was going to solve things for me, but did not. Now I'm really in a bind trying to fix it. The unversion and add to ignore list is kind of what I did, and I did something like this. So like, where is this ignore list and how do I take it out of there? Unversion. Well, I did it once, I might as well do it again. Added the file patterns volcano beast rig to the ignore list. Alright, SVN. How to edit and ignore lists from SVN. How do I unignore a file? Just edit SVN ignore a property. That was the answer. I ignored a file by mistake. How do I recur? Just edit the SVN ignore property in the subversion tab of the directory properties. You ignored a subfolder, select the property tab of its parent folder. That's the easiest answer. In the subversion tab of the directory properties. So what is properties in the folder? Subversion tab. You right click on the directory containing the file and select SVN properties. You should see an SVN ignore property. You're saying I can just right click on the folder? Properties. There it is. Remove. Okay. Now, I think I still have to add it. So we'll try that again. SVN add, SVN commit, adding repaired version with template guide. Go. Error. File already exists. Oh, I guess I gotta get latest on it. That's probably what it is. Dave's celebrating. Oh gosh, darn, my phone is just exploding over here. I don't know who that is. I didn't mean to have my phone in the actual room here. Just gonna hang up on that one. That was me calling my ISP. That's where that's coming from. Dave will know what I'm talking about. Okay. Which, by the way, has not been solved. They're going to call me back, which might have been who that was, but I don't think so. I think they were going to email me. I need to get latest on that. That's what I think I have to do. So I'm going to say... undo add. I'm gonna go to browser. I'm gonna say get the head revision. Okay. Now when I right click on it, there we go, looks better. So complicated. Okay. So unfortunately I lost the version that had my recovery. So I'm just gonna undo. Oh wait, I haven't actually deleted it yet. No, I haven't deleted it. There we go. So now I got both guides. Save this. Like what? Like 15 minutes to save a file? It's ridiculous. And then we're gonna go commit to for the third time. Updates. With recover template file. Our guides. Okay. And then boom, that's been updated. So now I have 2 revisions on the server for that file. And then I can delete this, save this one. Now I'm working on a version that is got some backups. Wow, that was crazy. I learned a bit though, it's always good. And I'll just forget it in like a month, so that next time it happens, I'll be like, oh no, I forgot how to do any of this. All right, let me close some windows over here. Dave says, but you'll have the stream as reference. That's true. Just have to remember it's an hour and a half into my stream. whatever stream this is. So we've got those in there. Now, is that still, let me just see, is this still got the number 2 in it? Probably does. So it goes to the second joint. Guide manager. Go to the settings of the selected one. Parent index joint 2. Okay. So in theory, I should be able to build this. Let's see if it'll all work. It's done. Why does it do that sometimes? Maybe I didn't pick the right thing. I'll get rid of the rig. I'll pick the guide, and then I'll do it. So I'll make sure I pick the root of the hierarchy. Oh, the root's down here. I was picking this one up here. Let's see if it'll remember the controller spacing sizes. Oh, it does. I had to manually scale up a lot of these controllers to be big enough to select it among these giant feet, which I think is something else I want to get through in the tutorials. I'm looking forward to when they get to that part so I can really discover what the appropriate workflow is. But anyway, so I want to find out if I pick a control, it's parented to the rest of the skeleton. Oh, I forgot to mirror it over, but whatever. I have no idea how these chain things will work, but it's just like me rotating joints in an FK manner. And that's fine by me. I can work with that. I think if I pick the root. Oh wait, you can't do that when you're animating though. Up, down. I was kind of hoping there was just some kind of setting here that was going to be like enable dynamic chain or something, and let it do some sort of physics thing. Since it was, I thought that was the whole point. Was it was like a spring chain with spring. Like, how does that work? What do I do to make a spring work? You can't do settings with that. Okay, so I'll delete the rig again. And then I'll take... Oh, look, there is the other one in here. Did it build it? I don't know. Maybe I'll undo my way back out again. Oh boy, that was a crazy undo. Oh yeah, it is over here. Then when I moved this, I felt like it wasn't traveling. Oh, it is. Never mind. It was the guides that weren't traveling. Okay. We're good. Got half an hour. Well, we got less than half an hour. Maybe I should just try and see if I can get this into a game engine, just for fun. And then I can spend some time watching the videos and doing some more research afterwards. What do I do next? So I could build the guides. The skeleton's there somewhere. Joint organization. Yeah, there it is. Skeleton. So I have to skin the joints. I think, see, this is something I would have been nice to find out about it. Like, do they have like the ability to export skins and import skins, but do they have a way that like I'm supposed to use some sort of system that they use that makes skinning much better? I gotta find out, but we'll get there. And meanwhile, I just have to pick the root of the hierarchy. Ooh, look, they got group nodes between the lava drip springs are not part of the skeleton, main skeleton. They kind of separate out. That's not a very good sign. That's probably not going to work in the game engine. I mean, it'll work if I export it from here, but it's not how I was expecting it to work out. I thought these were going to be part of the hierarchy. I really don't know what to do to fix that. Like, I parented it in here, so if they're parented, why would they not be parented here unless it's something to do with the spring functionality requires it to be separated. But like, I don't even know how to take advantage of that spring functionality, so why do I care? It's possible that the spring, like, because it's procedurally built in Maya and baked out, is why it's been separated out, but like, I don't think it's actually gonna be doing anything. Well, I guess we can try to export this. Oh, I gotta skin it still. So we'll take the skeleton and the mesh, and we're gonna do well, let's save it first. And then we'll do a skin, bind skin. We're gonna do the geodesk voxel 5 influences. It's gonna want me to put a joint as my first thing, which is gonna be a problem. At least one joint. What if I do the whole hierarchy? I feel like this isn't gonna work either, but we'll do it. Try it out. Oh, it does work. Never mind. There must be a checkbox here for like the whole hierarchy or something, or what was I missing there? Weird. Okay. So hopefully by doing that, I should be able to manipulate the mesh. Oh, and actually it's working a little better because the spring is taking some of that influence away. Okay, so this is a problem. I don't even know. I'm supposed to pick something that changes. There it is. Just the controllers all look the same. I can pick what color I want them to be, but see, and their object orientation is not matched to the foot. Although I guess maybe that's okay because I want them to walk forward like this. So maybe that was not a mistake. Okay, so it's skinned. I can do the skeletal mesh now, and it's totally fine that we're doing a skeletal mesh at this stage because you gotta make sure everything works before you get too involved. I do fear that because this is in a hierarchy of rig, that we've got an extra joint that's going to be part of this. So I'm going to hit Shift P and unparent it from that, and then we got joint. Like, it's kind of a weird root name, but like this is all auto-generated every time I hit rig, set up the rig, so I don't know, whatever. So anyway, we'll pick the mesh and the main joint, and we're going to create our skeletal mesh. I'm just going to use the normal standard export selection, which that's not what I meant to do, not the option box, just pick it completely. And make sure we're using FBX. We're going to put it into source. I don't know why we have source. Skeletal mesh, volcano beast, smoothing groups, animation off. Oops, wrong checkbox. Z up, which is we should just do Y up. Exported. Now I gotta make a Unreal project. So make a new project. Pretty soon, based on what they've been telling us, Unreal 5 full release should be coming. And then I'm gonna have to do a lot of learning. Then the learning starts. I could technically start doing stuff in Unreal 5 at this point, but don't really feel like jumping over there yet. Tastes like you and me. I heard Dave that you had ambitiously jumped into Unreal 5 this weekend on your project, which I wish you the best in your adventures. I think it's good though. I think it's good to kind of like start there, because by the time that project finally gets to a point where, like, you're in R&D phase right now, so by the time you get to a point where it's ready, Unreal 5 is the right project to be working in. And it is designed for games, not for film, so it's like, it should be good. Don't need all that fancy stuff yet, so it's a good starting point. Yeah, it's true. The only thing that scares me about working in Unreal 5 is that, like, there's a lot of features that aren't ready yet, so you're like, oh, I'm just gonna use this. And it's like, oh, they don't have that yet. And you're like, oh, that's really awkward now because I need that. And then you're like, oh, well, what am I gonna do now? I don't know how often that's gonna happen, but I know there's a few things that just aren't ready yet in Unreal 5, and it's like, well, that really makes you have to do all these workarounds. But if you're just working with, you know, the core principles and you're trying to utilize the latest in the animation tools, then it makes sense. Then you're gonna be wanting to use whatever the current functionality is and heading in that direction. But it's pretty tricky until they've, you know, finalized a lot of this stuff, and then hopefully that works out well. It's always tough when you get into like something that's really new, where there's very little documentation, there's very little people that are very few people that are asking the questions that you need to ask, so you have to kind of find a lot of it on your own. Alright, making a new Unreal project. And I do say that, like, if you take a Unreal 4.27, it should just merge into Unreal 5. So, you know, there's that argument as well. But I think that's why, well, that's definitely why we do all our classes and courses around 4.27 still, even though students always ask us why we're not working in Unreal 5 yet. But it's like, well, we will get there. It's just, especially since we're talking about virtual production in our content, it's like, well, this is what they've polished for virtual production is 4.27. They haven't, Unreal 5 is not really what they were working towards. Okay, so I'm going to import this asset now. Yithmir. I can imagine. I spent the last week learning Blender, and I have to Google a tutorial for a tutorial. That's hilarious. Nobody's ever said that. That's pretty funny. And it's funny how, like, when you're trying to find something that you're like, I don't even know what to write. Like, how do I find the words to be able to get the search results? It gets really tricky sometimes. Yeah, Blender's another good example, I suppose, right now, because it's changed so much in the recent versions that, like, all the content that's out there is not relevant necessarily for what the current version has. I have seen a few students vent very frustratingly about their experience trying to learn Blender. And I don't know Blender enough to be able to give it any kind of criticism, so but I do know that anytime you learn new software, it's very frustrating, but it helps to have some tutorials, and that's why this M-Gear, this new tutorial series, I'm like, oh, yay! I don't have to work really hard. Somebody's just gonna tell me how it works, and then I can just hopefully just blend in. It was so frustrating when they didn't have anything. You're like, I need something, just something that's current. And I was gonna reach out. I did kind of reach out to John a little bit. John Robbins, he's the other tech artist mentor, and but I don't want to bug him too much. Like I'm like I should be able to figure this out on my own too. But I was like, I'm gonna set up something so that you can help me with it. And that was kind of the plan today. And then all of a sudden I found out this tutorial was like right there, and I'm like, oh, this is sweet. Now I can work with this. Okay, I'm forgetting what I'm doing here. I need to import source from. Oh, I didn't actually put it. Made another folder. Shoot. Oh well, I can fix that later. Import the skeletal mesh FBX. It's gonna create a skeleton and the import and create a new skeleton and import and see what happens. Oh, it did actually bring it in. That's a good sign. Alright, let's see what our skeleton looks like. Ah, look, it does parent it to the root as I suppose that was kind of how it was supposed to be. You got the two root objects there, and they're going to this root joint called joint organization, or not sure what that's for. But it looks like it came in. With the skinning and everything, so that's pretty good. Well, with the very rough first pass anyways. Brian Hung recommended it to our group for concept art, so I'm playing around at the stage. Yeah, for concept art. Yeah, I heard that Brian, or the whole concept department, has sort of been introducing Blender and then also ZBrush and stuff to getting into that realm. Enjoying the process. All right. It's very relevant for concept art. I know that technically, usually anyways, these artists don't really like to learn these complicated softwares, but they're really helpful, and it kind of gets you into that really competitive space where you can build all the geometric landscaping and save yourself a ton of time trying to reconstruct that just by eye. The same argument as to why concept art students are in the Unreal Development open session channel is you can use Unreal to previs your shots using, Quixel assets or whatever. It's the same direction and angle as what Blender provides, but allows you to utilize some of the new techniques that you can do with lighting and without having to do all the rendering. I don't know. It's tough to say like what's easier and what's not, because I think Blender is a challenging learning curve, but it does give you the ability to like create the geometry easier. So there's like that side of it that makes it better than a workflow in Unreal where you have to use existing assets and it's hard to customize them without going through this whole pipeline of importing. So I'm not sure realistically what the better answer is. All right, down to 10 minutes. Definitely got the character rig working with really basic skinning. Well, untouched skinning, I guess. We could try doing a little bit of animation with my 10 minutes here. So we'll save this. And we'll also save it as... I really gotta make a new folder for this thing. My binary is not... Why did it switch over? Weird. Instead of rig, we're gonna call it tests, or maybe we'll call it idle 1. We'll just keep working towards that. So if I don't have to worry about making the character walk, I figure out a good... How do I make this so I can see controls? This is the problem. All the controls are too small still. I gotta make them like super huge to get outside of this mesh. So that is a perfect example of something that needs to be tweaked still. Because you can't really animate very easily like this. I was interested in trying Unreal and Blender for animation, but never really considered it for art until recently. Enjoying mushing these digital clay balls. Ah. Are you doing sculpting in Blender? Or are you talking about the whole ZBrush workflow? Actually, I heard that ZBrush or ZBrush is now that it's been purchased by another company, is becoming no longer the sweet deal it used to be. I don't know how, I don't know much about it yet, but it may be moving into a subscription model, which is like, they've always been kind of like you buy it and then you get the version of it plus everything that changes down the road. It's been like that for years. Sculpting in Blender. Cool. Yeah. Yeah, it's sculpting is definitely a very valid way to make things. There was a video about that a while ago. It's like you can, when you think of 3D modeling, everybody thinks, oh, it's polygon modeling, but it's like, no, that's just one of many ways to model. Like everything is valid. It gets the job done. Polygon modeling is just a way that is compatible with like various tool sets, but in terms of how you're going to make the mesh, there's lots of different ways to approach it. The Adobe scam. There's, yeah, like the whole Adobe's method of charging people, which is like ridiculous. And yet everybody still does it, so obviously it works. But yeah, ZBrush has always been like a sweet deal. Like it's always been really impressive. Like, oh, you just buy it once and then every time they update it, you just get it. And it's like, wow, that's awesome. Pretty sure that's how it works. I've never actually bought a version of it before, so I don't even know if that's accurate, but I know it's always, in the past, it's been like that for sure. But now that they've been purchased, it seems like their whole method of how they make money is getting ramped up, and that company technically, probably, I believe, has been notorious for doing that kind of stuff. They're seeing dollars, and so that they're capitalizing on it. Okay, what am I doing here? Idle animations. So how am I going to do that very well? Just basically, gotta get these the two main ones. So this is an interesting problem right now, because if I make the animation, oh, I should reference it. Yes, that would be a much smarter thing to do. So I'm gonna say new scene. Reference editor. Reference in the rig. So we've got the mesh referenced into the rig file referenced into the into this animation file. Better save it again. This might allow me to be able to like swap out the rig with a new rig, updated rig, but not lose the connection to the animation. I'm going to save over top of the idle file again. Pam. Hey Simon, what are you up to in this live stream? Well, it's just about over. We got about 3 minutes left. What I basically discovered today was that I've been using MGear as I'm learning how to use MGear, and it's a plugin for doing character rigs. This is rigged up in MGear, and it's provided for free from Autodesk, but it's very kind of establishing itself as a more finalized product. And so I just found out today, as I was doing research before my stream, that they released a whole bunch of new tutorials for how to use MGear, and like literally 8 hours ago they just uploaded these, and there's a whole bunch of them. So I'm planning on going through the rest of them and trying to get a good sense of how to get this MGear to work. But I really like this tool set for solving something that's pretty big about Maya in terms of trying to get a good rigging solution that works with game engines and is robust enough to be able to handle something other than just bipeds. So I'm struggling a little bit to understand some of the elements, but it's got a lot of functionality for customizing, which makes it intimidating. But at the same time, I'm hoping that I can get my head wrapped around enough of it that I can keep using it for future rigs, and we can keep learning and getting better at it so that we can share about how to utilize this. Because it's always been pretty intimidating. Let me put that. Seems to be on. Why am I able to select that today? Alright, we'll just turn off the ability to select meshes. Thank you for the explanation. Something like Advanced Skeleton but for non-bipeds. There you go. It's like Advanced Skeleton. Advanced Skeleton is pretty good too as a solution, but I have heard that it's a little unreliable. And yeah, Advanced Skeleton is good for quadrupeds and stuff too. They just traditionally haven't been designed for game-related skeletons, although as of recently they have supported that. So I mean, I don't mind. I don't really know Advanced Skeleton that well either, to be honest. So my experience so far has been a good one. It does go into a lot of stuff that is not relevant to what I need for game development, but they are supporting a lot of interesting features that directly tie into some of the new things that Unreal supports. It's a pretty good tool set too, but I'm really curious to know where MGear is going, because they're solving it in a more modular way, it feels like. Rather than having these pre-existing templates that you start with, you get a whole bunch of like just types of rigs that you want to use. Oh geez, I didn't even look at the bottom here. You can just use a mannequin, epic mannequin arm or leg. You could just build your own epic skeleton there, using their proper joint-based naming convention. But they have a lot of other kind of neat features. So it's just like a set of Lego that you can use to build your character. And so if your character is like a octopus and you have to like do tons of legs with complicated things. You just, once you kind of get a sense of how these features work, you just keep adding them and flopping them together, and then it builds all the controls for you. So it's kind of neat that way. Yeah. All right, well, I am running out of time, and my idle animation is definitely not going to be very interesting if I try and rush something out here. But I think it's kind of cool that we got to a point anyways where we have it, you know, exporting and working in Unreal to a very basic degree. And, you know, maybe next week we'll be able to spend some more time, once I've learned a bit more about MGear, polishing that rig up and setting it up so that we can make sure that our animations are a little more robust. All right, so I'll leave it there. It's nice to see we have a few more people here watching the stream, and it's always nice to have a company. Dave's, thank you for hanging out through the whole thing, and I will see you guys again next week. Take care, everybody. Whoops.